On Bart Eherman, in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is clueless. Hey, welcome to Church for Skeptics. This is Dan Arsenault, and we are talking today about how skeptics operate in general. What I call the cleanup hitter, or you might say the leading prosecuting attorney against Christianity right now, and especially against the Bible, is a guy named Bart Eherman. He is the chairman of the Department of Religion at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. He's a prolific author, and virtually everything he's written is against the New Testament. I'm going to focus on one criticism that he has, and what Dr. Eherman likes to do is make the Gospels contradict each other. And I'm going to show you his example and why that happens, and what the pretty easy way to go around that is. So in the Gospel of Mark, there's only one thing. Jesus had 7 things on the cross. Only one of them actually is recorded in the Gospel of Mark, and it's in Mark chapter 15, and I'll start in verse 33 here. At noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, and at 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? When some of those standing near heard this, they said, listen, he's calling Elijah. Someone ran, filled a sponge with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes down to take him. They said. And then verse 37, with a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. That's it. So on Bart Eherman, in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is clueless. This is exactly what he says on the cross. Jesus doesn't know what's happening. He's frightened. He's scared to death. He's discouraged. He's in despair. And so he makes this cry, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? Now, contradictory to that, if we look at the Gospel of Luke, you'll see quite a different picture, I think, or he thinks at least. Luke chapter 23, verse 26. As the soldiers led him away, Jesus, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large number of people followed him, including women who mourned and wailed for him. Now watch this. Jesus turned and said to them, daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children. For the time will come that you will say, blessed are the childless women and wombs that never bore and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if the people do these things when the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry? Now the next thing that happens in Luke here is you have 2 criminals. The 2 other men, both criminals, were also let out with him to be executed. And without reading this, you can read this if you'd like in Luke 23, Jesus is so concerned about one of the criminals who says, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said, this day you'll be with me in paradise. So what Eherman says is a contradictory. In Mark, Jesus doesn't know what's going on. In Luke, he's concerned about other people because apparently he knows what's going on here. Now, what Eherman wants to say is these are 2 different Jesuses. These perspectives are so different from Mark and Luke. And then here's the biggie. Here's what I want you to understand. And then what Bart Eherman says is, if you want to, and these are his words, if you want to smash all the Gospels together and come out with another Gospel and try to harmonize them, you can do that, but you've lost each Gospel when you do that. So here's my question. This is a trick. For lack of a better word, why would we not want to harmonize the gospel? One of the big things that I say continually, which is true, of course, is that one of the great things about the gospel, why are there 4? and the book of Acts. Why that? Because they are multiple. This is historians' gold. They are multiple independent sources of the same events. You have different perspectives from individual eyewitness testimony in the Gospels. Why would you not think about a courtroom? Why would you not want to get 5 different witnesses who are independent and hear all their testimonies and correlate what they say to reconstruct the actual events that are in the courtroom? Why would you not do that? Of course, that's what they do. Of course, that's what historians do. That's what historians do, exactly that. They get all the eyewitness testimony they can and then correlate it and put it together and harmonize it. If there are glaring contradictions, then that is a problem. Well, Bart Eherman says you can't do that. Now, here's my bigger point here, and we'll finish with this. Go back to Mark chapter 14. Remember, Bart Eherman says Mark's Jesus doesn't have a clue as to what's happening to him. And he uses Mark chapter 15, because there's only one of the 7 sayings that Mark records. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now go back to Mark chapter 14, and we're just going to peruse through here. All you have to do is read the Bible in most of these cases. So Mark chapter 14, verse 1. Now the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were scheming to arrest Jesus secretly and kill him. But not during the festival, they said, or the people may riot. But while he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. And we're going to find, like, if you want to harmonize the Gospels, find out from John that this woman is Mary, Martha's, the sister of Lazarus and of Martha. So now, verse 4. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages, and the money given to the poor," and they rebuked her harshly. Now, this is Mark, and this is Mark's Jesus. Verse 6, the red letters. "Leave her alone," said Jesus. "Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will not always have with you, and the poor you will have always with you, and you can help them anytime you want, but you will not always have me. She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." And then, of course, Judas runs out to betray Jesus to the Sanhedrin. Does that sound like in the same gospel now, where Bart Eherman says in Mark's Jesus doesn't know what's going on? Does that sound like that? No. And now let's just kind of keep pushing forward in the same gospel. Now we come to the Last Supper. What does Jesus say in the Last Supper? And I'll just use the red letters here. "Truly I tell you," he says, this is in the evening after the Last Supper. "Truly," Jesus said, "truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." Jesus doesn't know what's going on. He knows what's going to happen. "It's truly one of you will betray me, and the one who is eating with me." And I'll just skipping the black letters for the red letters here. "It is one of the 12, he replied, one who dips bread into the bowl with me. The Son of Man will go just as it is." What? Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what's going on here, and he has no clue. Well, he says right here in the same, this is one chapter before Mark chapter 14. This is the day before he's crucified. He doesn't know what's happening. Here it says, "The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him, but woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Now, the Last Supper. "Take this bread," he said. "This is my body." Then he took a cup. I'm in verse 23 here. "Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. This is the blood, this is the red letters, this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many, he said to them. Truly I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God. Jesus even knows the future. He knows eternity. Now, my point is this. Could anybody, including Bart Eherman, couldn't he have read Mark 14 and said, well, maybe Jesus does know what's going on? Well, he's a textual critic. Of course he's read Mark chapter 14. So why exclude it in his quest to try to make Mark and Luke contradict one another? I don't know. I hope maybe you might know, maybe have some idea in that. But my point is this. God gave us 4 Gospels for a reason, and they harmonize beautifully, despite all the efforts at trying to make them contradict. Hope this is helpful to you. Thanks for watching.